Representative Santoro. I want to talk about transportation today. So we've been talking about this issue for a couple years. You and I have sat down a couple times to talk about this. Next week we have a new governor. We just had an election, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But this has typically been a pretty bipartisan issue. People from both sides of the aisle agree that we have to do something about transportation funding in particular. So what can we expect to see in 2020?
Well, in 2020, we're going to see some infrastructure funding. I believe that this will be the year. A lot of times they say three's a charm, and I'm hoping three's a charm because our transportation is in dire needs. I think the message is out there, thanks to Kentucky's Better Transportation, the Chamber. I can just go on and on through all these different organizations that say it is time. And this is an issue that has been percolating for years. I've mentioned it before. Once I assumed this position, I just didn't go into it. Oh, we have to do this. There's a problem. I wanted to have facts and figures with documentation. Our members are all now seeing that, and they are starting to believe that we have a problem.
And Governor Bevin was at the point where he was very loud and proud about his support for this issue. He was even saying the proposals that we've had in recent years didn't go far enough because we need even more money. So now, like I said, we have a new governor coming in. Have you talked to the Beshear Administration at all about this issue? Do you know where he stands? Do you think that he will be supportive of this?
The day after Election Day, and then when it was certified, I reached out to Governor-elect Beshear, to his staff, and said I need to set up a meeting. With several others, I'm hoping with Minority Leader Rocky Atkins, we talk regularly that, yes, I'm ready to meet with them. I think they understand it, and I hope that Governor-elect Beshear and their administration understands this. This is a problem in Kentucky, and it goes from the west to the east, from the north to the south. No community, no county is left behind in this thing. We all have problems. So I'm hoping that when he gets into business, I would like to meet at any time. I've said it again. Even yesterday with the announcements of the new Secretary of Transportation, first thing I did, I reached out and said, I'm ready to set up a meeting and I'm here.
So that's my next point. So just this week, he appointed Jim Gray, former mayor of Lexington, who also ran his family's construction company out of Lexington, to the position of transportation secretary. So how do you feel about that appointment? Do you feel that that'll affect the issue in any way?
No, I don't. I think I've only I'm going to say in social settings, I met when he was the mayor of Lexington and just hello, how are you? Everyone I speak to, they say he ran a great city. I mean, look at Lexington and look what the university has done to that whole community. And I think he knows that. He left Lexington in good hands. It's the budget. He worked with the budget. That's what transportation is. It's just budget. If you have a budget, you have to work in between them. But unlike other things happen in Kentucky. We have rock slides. We have roadways that give away, and you have to have enough funding that you know when you have an emergency that we're going to take care of our citizens. So I look forward to it. He comes from a construction background, building buildings, knows how that has to happen, and I believe that he also knows the timeliness of it. When we have a snowstorm and then a road collapses, he'll understand that. It has to be done now. We can't wait for 2 weeks. It's got to be done. So I look very forward to meeting him and working with him, and I hope someday he's going to say, wow, look what I've done in Kentucky's transportation.
So you seem confident that we could get something done in 2020, and 2020 is a budget year, so we'll be crafting the next 2-year state budget and the road plan. So do you think, let's talk about the need. How much is the state in need of money for roads and bridges? What does that dollar figure look like?
Oh, it's tremendous. The need just keeps going on and on. You know, everyone, it's a budget year, and I don't want to bring in the bad word, but pensions are still there. So that's going to take a lot of our issues just on pension. But as far as our needs, with the past administration, what we did with the SHIFT program, we prioritized, okay? So we just didn't expand on transportation, roads. We also took a look at what needed to be repaired and replaced. On our repaving of our roads and our bridges. So we went out and we named a number of different projects that had to be taken care of in the biennium. What we did, we spent $545 million just on resurfacing. Bridge repairs was over $300 million. So this is just needs that had to be done. And then what we were able to do was on expansion of some roads. So with the SHIFT formula, I believe that we are now at a point where people are understanding we build a road, it's there 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, we have to repave it and we have to take care of it. So those are the funds that we're looking at that has to be done, and that's where we are now.
And so what do you think the bill is going to look like? We've seen a couple different proposals over the years, and like I said, there's been some conversations that maybe 10 cents on the gas tax doesn't go far enough, but I think every cent is 20 million, is that right? So what do you think this bill is going to look like?
What we're doing is we're going to propose a bill, trying to meet with members. I've met with, in this room, with both parties. They understand now what the problem is. So for every penny of gas tax, it's about $30 million for transportation. So, okay, so that's good. But we also have to look at what is going on. The price of labor has gone up, the price of gravel, everything is increasing. So if we get 10 cents, if we get 8 cents, where was it? Where's it going to put us? The number we haven't come up with yet. We're still formulating what would happen. Where would 10 cents put us? What would 8 cents put us? Where were we 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Hoping that with the new transportation secretary, with the new governor-elect, that they're going to look at these numbers too. We have figures. They can understand that there is a definite need. How big the need is, I don't know. Senator Harris says he has a number. Like anything else, it begins in the House, it's appropriations, and then it goes to the Senate, and then we sit down and hope come to compromise on what number we need.
And last year, when you and I sat down and talked about this, you brought up a good point that I hadn't previously thought of. When you raise the gas tax, or when people pay the gas tax, at the end of the day, at the end of the month, whatever, it's not that huge of an impact to people. What does that number kind of look like?
Well, it's based on what the average person drives, how many miles and everything. So actually you spend about $150 a year on gas tax. That's all it is. At it presently 26 cents, 26.4 cents a gallon. If we would just say 10 cents more a gallon, so that would be 36 cents. You may spend less than $1 a month additional gas tax. Well, to the average person, well, what's that mean? That's $12 a year. Okay, one big, I don't even know how much a Big Mac is or a Coke, but you can put it to that perspective, or you can look at it this way. I'm going to have a safe road. I'm going to have a new intersection, a new turn lane. There's something else that's going to be in my community, or a bridge. I would like to have, I hear from school bus transportation drivers say they can't go over a bridge if a vehicle's coming one way. Well, maybe with this $12 more a year, you're going to see a widened bridge for your school bus to get there, so your kids will get home.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about two things we've sort of touched on. There's a bill already filed that would deal with the SHIFT program, implementing that and, doing things based on need. And then it also would make changes to how the transportation secretary is chosen. So tell me about that bill and what you think its chances are and how it ties into a bigger transportation funding bill.
That bill is the Senate dropped that bill, I think before or on Election Day, which is fine. And what it is the SHIFT program. After we identified these projects, this is an ongoing problem. So I like that aspect of it. Now, there also is a board that they're going to set up. I haven't really reviewed it. I've looked at it a few times. There will be a board, and we would submit 4 or 5 names to the governor, and he would select off of that name. Qualifications is another thing. Years ago, Governor Patton, they all were transportation educated, so they know what's going on. So governors in the past have selected individuals that have some transportation knowledge. Actually, today, you could be a used car salesman, a dog catcher, have no knowledge of transportation. You could sit in a big chair and never ever worked on a budget. That could just be a political friend. Well, back in the day that worked, but nowadays I think things have changed so much. We have so much federal funding coming in. We have so many other needs that are coming in that we've got to be able to really sit down, have an individual can work with a budget and work with transportation needs.
And so if you were talking to constituents or people across the state about why this is so important, and I heard somebody say the other day that state money, we're losing some federal money with the toll credits, but state money is even more important in a lot of ways because you don't have to go through as many hoops, there's not as many regulations, we can get things done quicker. So, but for people who don't understand this issue or don't understand why we need to be doing this, what would you say to them?
Well, it is one thing that with our money, our funding, you're able to prioritize roads and or anything resurfacing. Okay, so when that money comes in, we are able to get out there and get it accomplished a lot quicker. Those are the best benefits for the people citizens of Kentucky, that they will see something happen. They will know this is my community and it's done faster. If you go through the federal guidelines, they have so many hoops, which are safeguards, and we have to do it that way. But we would rather just do it at home and get the job completed.
So we talked about roads and bridges a lot, but there are a lot of other forms of transportation, of infrastructure that we haven't talked about. So what about their needs?
Well, we can go to our airports, and I'm not talking about the big airports, the little airports. They have runways that planes, the way I understand, can't land on it because grass is growing in them. They need lighting. So our airports, the General Assembly funded money each year to try to upkeep those. We're building a new one in Gallatin County. So our river ports, we have this river that goes through our state. We have plenty of waterways. That is something where we can move goods and commodities through our rivers. And then our railroads. We have railroad system in eastern Kentucky that is fantastic, and it needs to be utilized. Well, the railroad grades, the crossings, they're responsible for the crossing. We are responsible to up to that. So if we would have a multimodal section that we could have funding in there, that if our transit companies, our bus systems, we have TARC, Lextran, and Tank, but then we have little bus systems throughout the Commonwealth that move our citizens to and from different areas. Well, there needs to be a pot of money, I call it, so that if the federal government says, we're going to give you a grant, but you have to give us a 20% match, there will be funding there, that this way our citizens know that I take grant money from the federal government at any time, but we have to match it. I like that we're partnership. Those are the best things for us, for its Commonwealth.
And where would that funding come from?
Well, it would come from, in the past bill I had, House Bill 517 that we had hearings on, there would be set aside a little funding that would go into this little pot of money, I'm going to say a fund that would sit there that we would not utilize it, we wouldn't take it, we would be able to use that as sort of like our bonding capacity within the state.
And you made a good point about not being able to take it from places. So a lot of people are concerned, I'm sure, when taxes come up, that we've seen over the years that people sweep funds and you don't know where your money is going. But this is different with the gas tax because it has to go toward transportation.
Toward transportation. What the gas tax is, because when they formed our Constitution, there's the general fund money and the road fund money. So it's separated, it doesn't intermix. What we would do, and I'm proposing, and I'm hoping the Senate and then the new governor-elect knows, that in the event, if we do a new consumption fee on this gas, that each member, each senator would see a project in their district or county, then that way that they know that the citizens paid, they're going to see it. That is what they want to see. When I talk to our constituents, they say, well, I buy gas, but it goes to Western Kentucky, it goes to Eastern. What are we doing here? What it is we're going to guarantee people that you will see a project, you will see something in your community that will definitely benefit your citizen and benefit you for your yes vote.
Now, is there anything that we haven't covered on this issue that you want people to know, or that you feel is currently misunderstood, or just heading into 2020 that you want to get out there?
No, I think most of the people understand. We've looked at the formulas, how our gas tax was calculated back in 1948. I wasn't even living there back then when they did this. Cars were, the gas consumption on vehicles changed. This day and age, people are getting 40 miles to a gallon. Electric cars, we're not even capturing those people that have hybrid cars. They're driving on our roads, they're utilizing them, but they're not really paying their fair share for someone who has a vehicle that has 15 to 20 miles a gallon. They're buying more gas. So also in this formula, the FIST formula, what we did after a certain amount of money is collected, our cities would obtain more funding because of the change that the County Judge Association, CAICOs, the League of Cities, the magistrates, they would all receive more funding for themselves, for their communities, through this new formula after a certain threshold is met. Those are the things that if we're going to recalculate, redo this, we have to do it now. This is a bipartisan effort. This was not done by me. It was done by a group of individuals. I had a working group. It was with House of Representatives. We had urban legislators. We had rural legislators. They all had an input on how this new formula would work. Everyone came to agreement. When I had all those other members come in and they met and they were all in agreement, this is a win-win for us all.